the one, the only, Ben Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Sotah Daf Chaf, number 20. We have a great share for you today, amazing share. Let's get started from the Mishnah on Chaf and Aleph. The Mishnah says, Ad shelo nimchaka Megillah amra ini shosa. We have this guy over here, the elephant. He was bothering my feet over here. All right. Ad shelo nimchaka Megillah amra ini shosa Megillah nignezes. Minchasem mispazeres al adeshen. Right? Before they erase the Megillah, machlokas, right? First you give the mincha, or then you erase the scroll in the water and make her drink, or the opposite. So this is going with the opinion that, we'll say this Mishnah really accords the opinion that basically first you bring the card mincha, then you erase the Megillah. Could go with either opinion. So before the scroll is erased, Hashem's name is erased in the water, she says, I'm not going to drink. Basically, she's admitting she's guilty. Megillah Sinignes says, you put the Megillah, you put the scroll away, you put it in Geniza, it's buried. Right, the Kar Mincha, right, it was already Makudash and a Klisharis. It wasn't brought yet, right? So you throw it al Deshen. You throw it, I guess this Mishnah actually accords that the Minkar wasn't brought. I misspoke before. Minchasim is Bazaris al Deshen. Mincha is supposed to be brought on the Mizbeach. You throw in the Deshen, you throw in the ashes. There's a heap of ashes for things that were burnt on the Mizbeach, and they got singed so much that they're completely burnt. You put it where the Trumas and Deshen is, the pile of ashes, and you burn it over there. You can't use the scroll for use different Sotah. Doesn't say her name in the Megillah, but nonetheless, you can't use it for a different Sotah. Now, it seems to be redundant. Once the fact that we said they put it in Geniza, obviously you can't use it for a different Sotah. So therefore, I have an interesting Iyot Ben Sion to talk about the difference between a get and Sotah. There, Lishma, the union of Lishma by a Sotah. This Mishnah obviously says you can't, a Megillah written for one Sotah can't be used for another Sotah. We'll explore Lishma when it comes to a Sotah. Nibcha Megillah, let's say the Megillah was erased. Amra Tmeani, and she admitted I'm Tmeah. She said explicitly, Amayim Nishbach, and you pour the water out, even though you erase Hashem's name anymore. There's no point in killing her. She got screwed with her husband, she needs a get, and she loses her ksufa. And the Kara Mincha, again, which was not yet poured on the Mizbeach, is burnt on the Trumas Hadeshen. Nibcha Megillah, let's say the Megillah was erased. Amra Any Shosa, she doesn't explicitly say she's Tmeah. She says, I'm not going to drink. Like we learned yesterday, you force her to drink the water, right? According to, as long as you see that, right, she's a little scared, right? If she soundly says, Rabbi Akiva says, if it's very clear that the reason she's not drinking the water is she's doing it with clarity of mind, and obviously she's basically the equivalent of saying, I'm Tameya, so then also you would not make her drink the Mesota, she would just get divorced and lose her ksuba. Right? If she drinks it and she's guilty, what happens to her? So her face becomes sullen, her eyes bulge out, and all the veins pop to her face. She's in the process of dying. They see that it's working on her, that she's actually guilty. They say, take her out very quickly from the Ezra's Nashim. She was at Shar Nikanor, the entrance to the Azara of the men. She's really the Ezra's Nashim. Take her to Ezra's Nashim. We'll see why in the Gemara. Now, in certain instances, not only what happened to her, however, it could be she's still guilty. The Mishnah says sometimes she has a certain merit. That merit would hold off the punishment for a certain amount of time. If she has a little bit of merit, it would hold off the punishment for 1 year. There is a type of merit which would hold the punishment off for 2 years. There's a type of merit, a very meritorious woman who have her punishment delayed for 3 years. Mikan Amar Ben Azai, Chayiv Adam Lelamed is Bito Torah. You're obligated to send your daughter to Beis Yaakov. Why? Shim Tishta Teda Shaskos Tolala. This is Ben Azai holds like Sarah Schneer. You have to teach your daughter Torah. Why? Because she'll know that really she's guilty, right? And the reason she is not getting punished right away is because she has merits. Like we paskin, very interestingly enough. Nowadays, Beis Yaakov is the standard. All the girls get education. Oftentimes they get a better education than the boys. They get a better education than the boys. It's pretty sad, actually, that girls get a better education than the boys. Very sad, to be honest with you. They know more Torah, they know more halacha than the boys themselves. But it happens to be the Rambam says, and if you teach your Torah, Torah, kilam the tiflos. You taught her sexuality, basically, because the explanation is when you teach her Torah, she goes on her shidduch day, what she can talk about the boy? The boy only knows Torah, so she knows Torah also. So they want to talk about it. They can flirt about Torah. I have actually seen this couple, they sit around the table, and the Shabbos table, and the husband gives a quiz to his wife about Hilchos Lashon Hara. This is the extent of their conversation. A woman, not directly related to what we're saying over here, a woman would rather have very little money, a kav, a small amount of food, not live a life of luxury, however, yet have proximity and closeness to her husband. Her husband's always hugging her and kissing her. Mitisha kabanu precious, to be very rich and her husband's not with her. It's an interesting fact about women. It's true, 100%, right? Women don't need the money. They'd rather have the husband around, showing affection to them all the time. He would say also, there's 4 people that destroy the world. A chassid shota. If you're a chassid who's foolish, I don't know. If you're Satmar, you're foolish. If you're Ger, you're not foolish. You're Belz, you're not foolish. Joking. They're all foolish. The Russia Arum. A lot of Gedolim are also Litvish world are also Shota. Anyone who says you should learn Kolol to the masses is a Shota, in my opinion. The Russia Arum. Anyone who is a wicked person, he's very clever. He's going to destroy the world. Isha Prusha. It's one thing to have a man who is parish, right? A man, like we said in Mesachas Nazir, sometimes it's good to actually abstain from the world for a certain amount of time, but a woman should never do that. Umaklos prushin, and even though for men it's good sometimes to have precious, to afflict yourself and hit yourself and cause yourself wounds, physical wounds, so therefore you abstain from the world, that also destroys the Roheri. When I was learning Torah by Rabbi Akiva, you see Matel Kankasom L'soch Hadio. We mentioned in the previous Mishnayos that you shouldn't put this more permanent type of ink into dio, into what regular ink is, because it makes it hard to erase. And when Rabbi Akiva saw this, he didn't say anything. What do you do? Meir said to him, Lav Larani, I am a scribe. Amar B'ni. You have to be careful when you're a scribe. Maybe when you're writing over a Sefer Torah or Tefillin and Mezuzahs, you'll leave out one letter. You write an extra letter. You make the Torah puzzle. You make the Tefillin puzzle. You could destroy the world. I said to him one thing. He says, seemingly unrelated to what his problem was, or Ishmael's problem with Rameir was, he says, I put some kankasom, some of this more permanent type of ink into the regular ink. He says, do you do that? Right? Part of writing a Sefer Torah. If you write a Sefer Torah, you're also going to write a Parsha Sotah in the base of Mikdash. It has to be able to be erased. So you can't do that. So the Gemara analyzes their conversation. What was he saying to him, and what was he answering by saying they put kankasom into the dio? So Rameir said back to Rabbi Shmuel, I'm very careful not to write extra letters or leave out some letters. Even to be worried about a fly. The dilma asi, we also had hagid the dalit. I'll write a dalit. A fly will come and sit on the extra piece of the dalit. Makes a resh, right? The dalit has a little point sticking out from the top. If it gets a race, it'll look like a race. I put something more permanent into the ink, so it won't be erased. Is this true? Is this true a version of what we said? A different price says, I learned Torah by Yishmael. I would put this more permanent type into the regular rank. He didn't say anything. This story seems like it's flipped. I came to Rabbi Akiva Asra. He was Asra, so you can't do it. So Kasha Shimash Shimash Kasha Asra Asra. I have two questions. These brises seem to conflict on two different things. First of all, was Rabbi Meir primarily a student of Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Shmuel? It seemed to indicate two different things. And also, two different brises. In the first brisa, Rabbi Shmuel said you can't use kankasum. In the second brisa, Rabbi Akiva says you can't use it. The Gemara says, first, Rabbi Meir studied by Rabbi Akiva. Kevan Dolmati Koim Ali Bey. He couldn't figure out what Rabbi Akiva's opinion was. Also, Rabbi Shmuel, Gemara. Rabbi Shmuel didn't know such logic, but he told him the tradition. The tradition was about using the kankasum. He came to Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel told him not. How they're asking Rabbi Akiva Savar Svara. Akiva told him. He also asked her. I'm sorry. First, he went to Rabbi Akiva. Akiva wasn't teaching him anything. Went to Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel started teaching him things from Halacha Moshe Sinai tradition. How they're asking Rabbi Akiva Savar Svara, right? And the first price, which says usually Talmud Rabbi Akiva, that was talking about the end, right? Where he learned analytically, he derived from analytics what Rabbi Shmuel told him from tradition. Ela Azra Asra Kasha. It's indeed a Kasha, right? One brisa seems to indicate that Rabbi Shmuel asked him to use kankasum. One brisa seems to indicate Rabbi Akiva. That indeed is a question. Tanya, Omer Yari Meir would say, for everything, every scripture that you write, for tefillin, mezuzos, and even for Sefer Torah, we'll see according to one opinion, you can put kankasum within the yo. It doesn't possible. It chutz, the top of Chafam and Beis, chutz be Parsha Sotah Balvad, except for Parsha Sotah, meaning the entire Sefer Torah you can write with kankasum added to the yo, except for in Sefer Midbar, in Parag Hey, you have to, the Parsha Sotah, it talks about Sotah, you can't do that. Yaakov says, no, even for the entire Sefer Torah, you can write with kankasum. The only time you can't use it is for the actual Parsha of Sotah, which is a new parchment written explicitly for a Sotah in the Beis HaMikdash. My Beinai, what's the practical difference in Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yehuda? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, limchok lamin Torah ika benayu. Right? The question is, could I cut out a portion of the Sefer Torah and use it for a Sotah? Right? I read the Sefer Torah, can I cut it out? According to the first opinion, according to Rabbi Yehuda, right, you could do it. That's why you have to be careful not to write kankasum in the Sefer Torah, the Parsha Sotah. Yaakov says you can't do it. That's why you can write the entire Sefer Torah with kankasum. The machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yaakov is machlokes of other Tanaim. Tanakama says in this price, if you write a Megillah Sotah for one lady, you can't use it for a different lady. Rabbi Yacha, even if it wasn't a race, Rabbi Yacha, Rabbi Yoshi, Amar Megillah Sakshir Lashis Sotah Acheres. Rabbi Yacha, Rabbi Yoshi says you could. Amar of Papa, Dilma Lohi. The Gemara says maybe the two machlokes Tanaim are not correlated. Ad kan lo Amar Tanakama Hasam El Kevan Intik L'Shum Rachel Alo Hadra Mintika L'Shum Leah. Right? The Tanakama said you can't use it for one lady to use it for another lady. Once it's used for a lady named Rachel, you can't remove it and use it for another woman named Leah. Aval Torah, the stomach siva. When it comes to the Sefer Torah, which is written, not intended for anyone, just to be used in a shul, maybe you could change it over and use it for a Sotah. Right? It's not used for anyone. If it's used for one lady to change to a different lady, you can't do it. But for nothing to one lady is okay. Another reason not to compare the machlokes Tanoim. Ad kan lo kamer Rabbi Yaakov bar Yoshia Hasam el Megillah d'ichtov l'shum alos ba'olam. Rabbi Yoshia says that you could use it for a different Sotah. Right? Because it's written about curses. Al Torah del Islamic ksiv, a Torah which is made for everyone to learn from it. Hakanami de lo machkina. You can't use it for a different. Right? He would agree, right, that you can't use it for, if it's written for Sefer Torah, you can't use it for a Sotah, actual Sotah. Rabbi Achi, they weren't asked. Rabbi Achi, Rabbi Yosha, Leisle, Kasav, the Garish, the Ishtav, and Inach Matzo, Ben Iro, Amarlo, Shmiv, Kishmech, Vashem, Ishti, Kishem, Ishtacha, Pasal, the Garish. But famous halacha by Mesechas Gittin, right? Kasav law, we learn law, the Shema has to be for a woman. So if you write a get for your wife, and You don't end up using it for your wife, and someone in your town finds it, right? It has to have the name of your city in there. Someone in your town finds it. It's the same city. He has the same name as you. His wife has the same name as your wife. He can't use it. Why not over here also? Amri Hasam Kasav La Marachman. Meaning Ksiva Lashma. It says Kasav La. The Ksiva has to be for her. Hachanami V'asala. But here also it says V'asala. You should buy Sotah. You should make it for her. Which means for one Sotah, yes. But to use it for a different Sotah, you can't. My Asiya Mechika. So he answers, no, Asiya means Mechika. Doesn't mean the writing. It means the Mechika. So once I erased a scroll into water for one person, I can't use that water for a different lady. That would Rabbi Yacha Riyosha would agree with. But to write for one woman, before you erase it, to give it to a different woman, if you use it for a different woman, that would be okay. We'll talk more about this machlokes in Ian with Ben Sion. Right? It says what terribly happens to Ramani. Rabbi Shimon is our Mishnah. Is Rabbi Shimon, the Amar Makros Min Chasav Achak Mashke. The kamad lo karva min chasa lo barkila. Right? It says right when she drinks, the Mishnah indicates that it's going to take effect right away. It must be like Rabbi Shimon, not like the Tanna Kamma, not like Rabbi Akiva, who says that the correct order is first you bring the karva mincha and then you drink. So therefore, once she drinks, everything, the punishment is ready to be meted out at that point. The kamad lo karva min chasa lo barkila maya, because you hold like the Tanna Kamma, right? Even though she drinks away and she's guilty, you have to wait for the karva mincha before the effects start happening. Dechsiv mincha zikara maskera zava. Right? Because if you hold the Kar Mincha, it happens afterwards. It says about a Mincha. A Mincha Zikar, Maskar, the Mincha will remind you of the sin. So therefore, theoretically, if the Mincha is afterwards, only the Mincha, once the Kar Mincha is brought, then she can be punished. Say the end of the Mishnah. If she has a sklos, a merit, even though she's guilty, she won't be punished for a year or 2 years or 3 years. Asan Rabbanan, that according to the opinion of Rabbanan, the Reb Shimon, we're going to learn in Mishnah and Chav Beis. Rabbi Shimon doesn't agree with this concept that a guilty woman, her punishment could be pushed off for a year or 2 years. Amar Rav Chisda, Amani Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. The Amar Makru Mashke. He holds first to bring the mincha and then you give her to drink. I'm sorry, Rabbi Akiva actually accords with Rabbi Shimon. Tanna Kamma argues on that, right? Which is the first part. Rabbi Akiva does not agree with Rabbi Shimon. He holds that the concept of a merit does hold off the punishment for a certain amount of time. They say when she starts to get punished, she's about to die, take her out. My time, the Dilma Mesa, right, where we're just going to die. Does this mean to say the Mesa Asr Machana Leviyah, that a dead person can't be allowed to stay in the Machana Leviyah? Right? The Azara is considered the Machana Shechina. The Machana Leviyah is Ezra's Nasha. We have a brayso which says if you came in contact with a corpse, you can go in the Machana Leviyah. Not only if you came in contact with a corpse, even the dead person himself can go in Machana Leviyah, not in Machana Shkin, not in the Azar, the Heichal, but in the Ezra's Nashim, yes. It says that Moshe took the bones with him. What does it mean, imo, with him? Imo Mechizasa, wherever he lived. And Moshe was a Levi, he was the Machna Leviyah, he lived in the Midbar. Amar Abaye, Abaye is a different reason. Shema Tifros Nida. The reason is when she's dying, she'll menstruate. And when she menstruates, that Dam Nida makes you not fit for the Machna Leviyah. You have to go to the Machna Yisrael. Remember the Biasusa Marapia, does it mean to say when someone's fearful, it loosens their body and the blood comes out. We have a proof from that from Esther. The Gemara in Megillah says she was very afraid of what's Achashverosh is going to happen. What's going to happen with Achashverosh? She Pirsa Nida. She menstruated. But what a Mishnah in Mesachas Nida, which says that if you're fearful, it'll remove the blood. The opposite, it will help you not menstruate. If it's a constant fear, right? So then your body will contract, and the blood won't come out. It won't menstruate. However, it's a sudden fear, and this happens suddenly, then it actually loosens the body, and it's easier for a woman to menstruate. Mani Masis, knows our Mishnah that says that a merit could hold up the punishment. It's not any of these three times. The Sani of Abraisa. The first opinion, Yossi ben Chanan, says, yes, chus works, but how long does it hold off the punishment? Only 3 months. Because the pasuk says, "V'niksa v'zara zera." If she's cleansed, she's not guilty, so she'll have children. But part of the Gemara Darshan that pasuk, not that she's not guilty, she actually is guilty, but she has a merit which delays the punishment, so it has to be the amount of time for Nizra Zera to have a child. So he Darshan, the amount of time to have a child is not 9 months, it's 3 months, because that's the time people can see that you're pregnant. 9 months, right, like the pasuk I just said. Lahalanu omer zera yavdenu yisupar. A pasuk in Tehillim says, zera yavdenu yisupar. The Gemara Darshan yisupar. Zera haroi l'saper. Zera, when Torah uses the word zera, it has to be someone who's able to talk, and only a fetus that is 9 months and born 9 months is going to be able to live and talk. Rabbi Shmuel omer shnei masar chodesh. The punishment is laid for 12 months. Even though it's a conclusive proof, we have a memory of a proof. Daniel was giving advice to Nebuchadnezzar, and he was telling him Nebuchadnezzar was cursed. He was saying there's a way of delaying your punishment. Listen to what I'm saying. If you give charity, you'll be redeemed from your sin, at least partially, for a certain amount of time. If you're graceful to poor people, your sin, your iniquity will go away, at least partially. Chaf Aleph and Aleph on the top. To have a archel l'shalvasech. If you listen to these things, if you do charitable deeds, you'll have a little bit of length of peace. After a certain amount of time, all the punishments came to fruition. When did they come to fruition? After 12 months. So you see that Nebuchadnezzar did partial tshuva, it delayed the punishment for 12 months. So the Gemara says, "Lolam Rabbi Shmuel." Really, our Mishnah could follow Rabbi Shmuel. V'ashkach kra da amar v'tani. So the opinion that says a year makes sense according to Rabbi Shmuel. What about the opinion? Two opinions in our Mishnah. One says some merits delayed for 2 years, some for 3 years. V'ashkach kra da amar v'tani. We find psukim that say and repeat the same idea. The chsiv ba kol Hashem al shlosha pishay adam. Shlosha pishay adam. And the pasuk basically says that 3 sins of Edom I won't punish, only the 4th I'll punish. So you see, it could be 12 months times 2 or times 3 even. It'll be delayed. Times 4, it won't be delayed. Why is there no proof from this? It's a pretty good proof in Nebuchadnezzar. The says, Dilma, that's by non-Jews. By non-Jews, Hashem doesn't punish them right away. By Jews, Hashem punishes them right away. Hashem punishes on small sins right away. So therefore it doesn't add up and be a punishment which is too large for them to handle. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for, I believe, a pretty long this year about the inyan of Lishma when it comes to Sotah as opposed to Gittin. I'll tell you the halacha, how we paskin, and what I believe the Mishnah on Daf Chaf and Aleph tries to introduce a new idea by Sotah. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.